we're feeding meters and doing all kinds of wonderful things. But I wanted to know from Mr. Jason here. Everyone talks about success and how wildly successful they were. They made $200 million. And that's a wonderful thing. But most of that success doesn't come easy. So I would wonder, could you talk to us a little bit about failure, about how you handled the failure that came in your 7 enterprises, and what did you do to turn that into success?
Thank you. Okay, so the first thing is failure is just part of growing any kind of business, any business. I fail sometimes a few times on a daily basis, just growing my business and putting things into executing on our business plan. So I failed. I failed 9 times out of 10. Usually, it's just that it's that one win that really keeps you in the game. So over the years, I've failed miserably at hiring the wrong people. I've failed miserably at keeping the wrong people on too long, and just being brutally honest with myself about that process. And I think that's the hardest part about running a business. We've got some great products, we've got some great service, but what it boils down to is who you have on your team, and you have to recognize who needs to stay on your team and who needs to go. And it's hard to do that. We're humans and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and it's tough for us to have those conversations. But what I've learned is in those really weird, uncomfortable moments, I've learned more than I could have ever learned without them. So I grow a lot in those moments. Failure is just part of the game. You just have to know that it's just going to happen, and learn from those mistakes.
So I think this is a good time then to talk about what we've been talking about lately, and that's risk versus reward. I think you bring up a very good point, and you have a great theory about jumping, which as people get to know you more, you have lots of history with that. We won't talk about that a lot today, but you have been a jumper in the past.
That's correct.
That is true. You did used to jump out of airplanes and such. So, but I liked what you told the students last week, and I wanted you to share with our listeners about the will it kill me theory.
Yes.
So, the will it kill me theory by Jason Moulton.
Okay, well, so the will it kill me theory is pretty simple. I will try it as long as there's no chance that I'm going to die doing it. That's it. So it's pretty simple. If there's an opportunity, I'm going to take it. If there's a risk in there that involves me actually dying, then I won't take it. So no more jumping out of airplanes for this guy. No more jumping out of helicopters. But I would be happy to scale a new airline or a new helicopter company if that's your thing. I can help you grow that business and hire the right people and do the marketing for you. But yeah, so that's pretty much the theory in a nutshell. Don't do anything that is going to remove you from playing the game tomorrow.
So, have you suffered any injuries that you need to know about?
Yes, quite a few. I've had multiple surgeries.
But now, since we're talking about business, I presume that when we talk about dying, let's bring that into the business sense. Your philosophy.
Okay, so the philosophy works the same in business. And I've had to bury a few companies. So I've went down with the ship and I've died with a few of the companies. And what typically happens is there's a grieving period, like any death, and then there's an anger period. So you're upset and you're trying to figure out what I did wrong and who you can blame.
And then there's denial.
And then there's denial. Wasn't my fault. Couldn't have been me. So you go through this process, and then at the end, what you do, if you're an entrepreneur, you wake up one morning and you go, "What am I going to do next?" And you get up and you start doing that. That's it. It's a pretty simple process, and it's happened to me more than I care to admit. But the process is always the same. I have a few days where I try to figure out what the next course of action is, the next business, the next play, and then I get right to work and I start after it again.
So that brings us to the next point, and that is networking. Because starting again usually doesn't happen, all by itself. It's like an organic thing that happens based on someone you just met or something you read or someone you were introduced to. So tell us the importance of networking.
It's probably the most important thing in business. Besides showing up on time and doing your job, networking is probably the single thing that can make or break your business. You network with the right people, you get out and you shake some hands and you just tell people your story. There's usually an elevator pitch, and I'll have some really condensed marketing pitch that I just tell people as I'm meeting them, and they'll introduce me to other people and other people. And that's the beauty of Silicon Valley, is the networking behind it. I've been working with a company recently called Think Tomy, and we deliver entrepreneurial skills to educators to teach kids how to make business decisions and become career and college ready. And the beauty of Silicon Valley is that it's completely networked. Everything happens in Silicon Valley by meeting and being introduced and introducing yourself and your skills to other people. So I have to be honest, I think that it's probably the most important thing to do. If you're thinking about becoming a business owner or you just want to find a job, the first thing you should do is get out and start networking.
Well, you're listening to All Things Employment on One Talk Network, and we're having a conversation with Jason Mouton, who is the owner of several businesses, and by his own admission is a serial entrepreneur. That's not breakfast cereal, that is the other kind of cereal. And I did want to address something that you said, because with my students, I think it really cannot be said frequently enough. But there was sort of a baseline there. Network is the most important thing, except showing up on time and doing your job. So showing up on time and doing your job are the givens. They're just a part of the fabric. The most important thing comes after the thing that we assume that everybody already knows. But everybody doesn't already know that, do they, Aaron?
They don't, which is why we have him telling us about it.
That's because we're such great guest pickers, let me just tell you. Not nose pickers, though.
No, we're not. And one of the things that you said, and I want to bring it back up, this is all things employment. You said that the strength of a team rests on who you bring into the team. So can you share with us, and you said you had some failures of doing this, but now I want to know about your successes. Can you share with us what you're looking for in an employee or a team member that you go, yes, this is the person that's going to lead me or help me lead my organization to the success that I'm looking for? Tell me the makeup of that person.
Chanel, get your pen.
Okay, so it depends what department I'm hiring for. Typically in a startup, I'm looking for self-starters. I'm looking for people that can make decisions without me helping them make decisions. So autonomy is key when you're starting a business. I need people that have some experience, have the desire, and have the know-how to self-start that specific department. If I have an existing company and I'm hiring salespeople, I want to find people that I know are going to be dynamic salespeople. And there's a key to it. When I'm hiring a salesperson, I usually, somewhere in the interview, I try to break their ego briefly. I want to see if they're really walking the walk. So I tell them that I didn't hear that they were a great salesperson. And if they come back and say, well, Mr. Moulton or Jason, maybe you need to clean your ears out, then that's potentially a guy that I would entertain hiring. And it's probably somebody that down the road would be a great employee. So there wouldn't be this weird honeymoon period where I'm still getting to know you 6 months later and I find out that you're not the right employee for me. If I'm looking for customer service people, the same thing applies, except I won't do the ego thing in there. If I'm looking for a great manager, I want somebody who's organized. I need to know that you are detail-oriented, that you have time management skills, and that you can effectively communicate to a team. And when I understand that you can do that, then I know I've got a winner. And you know, I think the list goes on, but you can see there's a foundation for each department. There's a foundation for each type of person that I'm looking for, and when I find them, I know it. And when you have it, it's easy to tell. So I can make that decision sometimes within the first 60 seconds of you sitting down and starting to talk to me, just by how you carry yourself and how you talk.
Cool.
All right. So, Mr. Jason Moulton, I have a question for you. So you earlier in the show you mentioned about networking and how important it is, even if you're just looking for a job. Networking. And I've heard that a lot. I'm talking to different business professionals, but I want to know, coming from you, how would a person who knows no one, how would they start networking, and how would you describe it to someone who's never heard anything about networking ever before? How would you, what tips would you give them?
Okay, so the description would be, if you've never heard of networking before and you have a Facebook with 5 friends, you are networking. If you're looking for a job, I think the easiest way to do it is to broadcast to your circle of influence, your sphere of influence that you have, the people that you know, your family, your friends, their family, their friends, and ask them to help you. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people are afraid to ask for help, and the other side of that is most people are willing to help you, and they'll go out of their way to help you. It's just in our nature to help other people. So if you ask for that help, they're going to give it to you. It could just be one lead on a job. It could be one lead to another person. And it happens that way for me in business every single day. I meet people every single day by referrals. Robin's introduced me to people that have introduced me to people that have introduced me to people, and not all of those leads are turn into financial gain for me or any of the companies that I work with, but at some point you can see them turn into monetary value. The contacts themselves are huge. That in itself is, I think, the biggest asset that I have is my network. Other than that, it's promoting our businesses. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So what you're saying is everybody has a network, even if they don't think they have a network, and everybody that you talk to is networking.
Absolutely.
All right.
So the interesting thing about success is that success is a journey, it's not a destination. You've heard that.
Absolutely.
And I know that Bill Gates is not on a beach somewhere going, something, I've done everything that I could probably want to do, and that's it. The beach is my new life. Even though he says he's retired, he's not retired. So saying that, Mr. Moulton, what's next for you?
Well, I'm gonna keep growing the businesses that I'm in contact with right now. I have a few ventures that I'm working on, and I don't think I would ever retire. I think if I had enough money to where I didn't need to work anymore, I probably wouldn't work as hard, or I wouldn't work as many hours, or I wouldn't work as many days in the week. But I would still, there's nothing. I'm a builder. I just want to build stuff. So that brings me joy. I'm just going to continue to do that.
I like that. That brings me joy. I like that.
Absolutely.
Jason, I have a quick question that kind of ties into what you were saying about networking, but also too with business failures. I'm reading Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, right now, and one thing that I've really taken to heart is he talks about defining your fear, and how that 90% of the things that you're worried about happening to you never happen. So it's one of those things where, have you found that to be the case with the business, but also too with the networking part, that there's a huge fear of, this person doesn't want anything to do with me, or I can't get in touch with them, or this business isn't going to work. Has that been reality, that a lot of it is hypothetical, the problems that you face?
Yeah, so in business, I think you become desensitized to the fear that you face on a daily basis, and you kind of have to become desensitized to it. on a social level, it's still really hard for me to go up and engage with a complete stranger and ask them for something. So that's always been a difficult thing for me, and it's one of the fears that I face all the time. It's just not in my DNA I'm actually more quiet and reserved, and just like I like my own space. But when it comes to business, I have to put myself out there, and I make myself uncomfortable. And there's something in there that makes it beneficial. But at the same time, it's hard to do. It really is. You know, the fear in business is. You're right. You know, God. You know, I heard a saying one time where worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair. You can move a lot, but you're not going anywhere. And that's in business. That's kind of the same thing. You have this constant worry about what's going to happen next. If you have a really good business plan, and you don't have to have some 500-page business plan, but if you have a really good business plan that outlines your next steps, and you can execute on those, whether that be just making 300 phone calls a day or meeting 5 new people a day, as long as you can stick to that, your business will do what it's supposed to do.
Superb.
Fantastic. So that brings us to the most important networking of the evening, Jason, and that is your contact information. Somebody wanted to send you an email. To where should they do that?
So you can send it to my first name, Jason, at thinktomi, thinktomi.com, or you could always call me at 916-865-6917.
And for the slow of finger, can you repeat your phone number?
It's area code 916-865-6917. That's my cell phone, so please keep that in mind.
Fantastic.
So you're listening to us at All Things Employment on OneTalkNetwork.com. We're just talking with Jason Moulton, and I'm so excited because my sister girlfriend, Danielle Marshall, is in the house, so she'll be up in our next half hour.
But we do have time for
that,
we do have no downtime.
We've got
We do.
Who's Hiring.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Today is really an interesting day. And David, who do we have that's hiring?
Right now we have security officers for the Sacramento areas. It's Pacific Protection Services Incorporated. They're located at 22144 Clarendon, and that's Suite 110 in Woodland Hills, California.
How do we contact them?
They are being contacted. You can call them at 1-818-313-9369, or you can fax them at 818-313-9155. And they're also asking that you have a valid current BSIS guard card and 40 hours of guard card training.
Fantastic. And that information will be on our Facebook page, or you can catch it on the YouTube channel at All Things Employment. And Chanel, what do you have for us?
Well, I have a catering production in San Francisco, and it's a full-time position. They are looking for... Oh, wait.
What are they looking for, Chanel?
They are looking for... Oh, goodness. Produce catered foods that are visually appealing and good tasting to the Guggenheimer standards.
Guggenheimer standard?
No, it's not Guggenheimer. It is Guggenheimer.
It is?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Right there,
Yes, it
okay,
is.
second line under.
How do you contact them?
Oh, it is Guggenheimer. Sorry.
Give the contact.
All right, you can contact them.
You guys don't know the Guggenheimer?
You know, I've clearly been slacking on my Guggenheimer.
Yes, you have.
That is 100% Guggenheimer.
And they are hiring, so can you please tell us how we can...
All right, so you can find this on careerrookie.com.
CareerRookie.com? Yes, not rookie, but rookie.
And this is in what city?
In San Francisco, and there's part-time jobs available, internships, and entry level.
So what's their contact information?
Well,
CareerRookie.com.
Right, you got to go through Career Rookie.
Oh, you got to go through
Yes,
Career.
yes.
You have to go through Career Rookie.
David, can you give us another one, please?
Yes. Right now, light rail locally here is hiring. They want a high school diploma, 4 years of experience at journey level, and their starting salary is going to be $23.99-$27.99 an hour, and their closing date is Halloween, 10/31.
And what's the name of the position?
It is a light rail technician.
Awesome.
For
That's
RT.
regional transit. Great.
And that where these are